Video by Deaky Swamp called Why You Need to Stop Sleeping on Trans Girls. I don't have a problem with that. Like sleeping on, sleeping with, I know what you mean. Point is, we're just going to hear what this guy has to say and why you should get with trans girls, according to this guy. Which, my opinion on that before jumping into this should give you a good precursor as to what's to come in this video. Sure, but don't expect any different behavior from regular women. Yeah, that's been my experience. And also just be careful. That's a general rule of thumb for everyone, for humans in general. If you're going to just interact with anyone in an intimate fashion, expect emotional volatility, expect mindless garbage, expect egotistical nonsense, expect narcissism, expect selfishness. Humans are animals, and you need to expect that when going into it. But let's just see what this guy has to say, and we'll just get into it. Yeah.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Z, and today I'm gonna tell you why you need to stop sleeping on trans girls. Reason number one. A lot of you guys be talking about how hard it is to find a girl that has the same interests as you, and that wouldn't be a problem if you date a trans girl, because a lot of them have the same interests as you, and not only do they have the same interests as you, they're also into the same fucking weird ass way that you are.
Disagree. Not in terms of the actual interests, because they used to be a dude, but finding them and getting with them. Once you as a woman, even as a gay man, you are going to have all sorts of options approaching you, and that is probably going to dilute your sense of traversing the environment in a proper fashion. You're probably just going to pick the most appealing one, like a candy shop. Once a guy transitions to a girl, they're going to get a bunch of dudes reaching out to them, and they're going to be just as freaking disregarding, just as, expecting as an average woman. It's like, dude, I've tried Grindr just as just to see what would happen, just to reach out to trans women. Same thing as regular straight women. They don't respond. They're like flaky. They are just as superficial as your average woman. At least in this part of the world. I'm an American, so that's where I'm coming from. Yeah, once you get to that point, I feel like, yeah, you'd probably have the same interest, but like getting to that point is going to be difficult. Now, I've had experience with trans women. In fact, I've been intimate with a trans woman to male, but it's the non-binary bullshit. So like they possess a lot of masculine traits, right? And we'd be able to play games together and do all sorts of stuff like that, right? I'd drive them around, they'd cook for me while we cook for each other, hang out, be intimate, do all that type of stuff. Which, yes, the time together was fun, but like what came along with that was a bunch of emotional baggage, was a bunch of nonsense, was a bunch of garbage, probably from their own life experiences and the bad stuff that has happened to them and how they've reacted to that bad stuff. It's like they thought I was the best, and they discarded it so they can get with somebody else who sucked, in their words. So an alcoholic who lied to them about it, who disrespected them, who put them in life-threatening scenarios. Yet they were the most hostile to me, all because I responded to their rejection with anger, with judgment, with criticism, with insults, and with a bit of trolling. I'll get into that a little bit later, not necessarily in this video. Maybe I'll give us more context to that later on, but I'll release a video once some other stuff dies down. Once the heat surrounding that scenario dies down, I'll release a video pertaining to that story a little bit later on, probably within a year's time, because that's when the margin of heat, that's the margin of time in which the heat is going to come down a little bit. And then you'll be able to get more context in my experience with this person. But sure, maybe, because of their experience, you'd think that because of their prior experience as a man and being perceived as a male, being treated as a male, that would transfer over, that would maintain itself when they transfer themselves to the other side of the force. And but it's getting to that point of which they're actually willing to give you their attention. That's a whole other thing. They're just as clammy as your average woman. So yeah, don't get too excited. Take it with a grain of salt, but I don't entirely disagree with your first point.
Weird ass nigga, whether it be fucking games or whatever, they're into it the same way that you are. Reason number two. They're on demon timing. You niggas be sad because your bitch don't want to fuck you. You in a sexless marriage. You're going to have the opposite problem. You're going to have a sex-filled marriage. Every day, you're going to go to work with your full belly, your balls drained, and your cock still sloppy wet because she sucked it before you walked out the fucking door.
Man. Just straight up. Okay, given that men tend to be more promiscuous or just sexually driven, I'm guessing because of the testosterone. Sure, but again, going back to the first point, it's getting to that point when they're actually willing to give you their attention. It's the same garbage, right? What usually comes along with being perceived as a woman, not just the physical stuff changing the way that you look physically, but also the way that you conduct yourself. You'd think, right? You'd think people are a little bit more individualistic, but no, people tend to want to like reduce themselves to a demographic. Now, my experience with the trans woman, it wasn't a guy to girl, it was girl to like semi-guy. It was a different experience, and they were very tomboyish, which is nice, like games and such, but they still held on to a lot of, I guess, feminine wiles. I don't know, through the cooking, through the affection, the seeming affection. It was sort of a distance, right? Their prerequisite before being intimate with somebody was, oh, I have to like be able to have a connection with somebody. We need to be borderline romantic for us to get together. We can't just get together and frickin' and smash, you know? There needs to be a little bit more to it, which, okay, that's fine. But like, it's not, for someone like that who has accessibility to optionality, it's so easier for them to dip in and out whenever it's most accessible, convenient for them, regardless of the ramifications to all the participating parties. I can't really say in my personal experience if that's true or not, what he's saying. I mean, it really just depends on the individual. There's women who are very, have high libido. Is that the term? Or is that specific to men? There's men who have it. There's men who have high libido. There's men who have low libido. There's women who have low. It really depends. It's case by case basis. But on average, yes, dudes in general tend to be a little bit more horny. And are a little bit more outward with it, which I would need to acquire more experience with trans women in order to come to a consensus, at least in my personal purview. Even if you have personal experience with stuff, that's not a reflection of how things actually work. That's just what you've experienced, right? And maybe this is what this guy's experienced. I don't know. He may just be describing me. He doesn't sound like he has a nuclear marriage unit with a trans woman. Going to work, your belly full of food, your balls drained, and your cock sloppy. Goddamn, dude. But, okay, don't entirely disagree, I guess, based on gender norms. But, all right, let's keep going.
Reason number 3. These bitches got hands. These bitches got hands. Do you know how cool it is to be able to say, I don't even gotta touch you, bruh. I'm gonna let my girl handle you. And then she run up on that nigga and boop, 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 boop. And in worst case, if shit get rough, y'all can just jump that nigga and win every single time. Every single time. But, yeah. If you guys like what you see, make sure you like, comment, subscribe.
I didn't like that last part. Really? Violence is... Yes, men are more capable of violence, but don't place all your marbles in there. You'd be surprised at different nullifying factors when it comes to learning martial arts, whether it be MMA in general, which encapsulates everything. I believe men and women should be capable fighters. Men are more capable fighters in general than women are, so chances are you're going to have more of an effectiveness if it's a trans woman, right? Male to female. I mean, just look at the sports, right? That's why I kind of like about the trans sport topic. It's like, dude, like, make it legal so I can bet money on the dude and then win money. Hell yeah. Get the fuck out of here. Are you kidding me? Of course they have an obvious, blatant advantage. There's biological disparities between the two sexes. But, really? Violence? I would see that as a negative, because that would, to me, denote volatility, emotionally speaking, if they're apt to be violent with somebody. Now, we don't have context of what he's talking about. He's just talking about in general. If you have a guy that you want to beat up or something, you want to just jump on him. Which, that's disgusting, dude. Like, really, you resort to violence? The best way to avoid that is to de-escalate, to prevent it. Violence should only be ever a last measure, and a defensive measure at that. You should never be so willing to just put it out. It's like, especially if you don't know what you're doing, especially if you haven't been trained, like, when after training you understand that it's a little bit more serious than. Now, that's not the case for all sorts of people. There's people with huge egos that are trained that are willing to just impose violence, and those types of people are fucking wacko doo-doo. You should stay away from those types of people. But like, if you do know what you're doing in terms of training, and you are a somewhat decent person, you wouldn't be so willing to just fucking wheel kick some guy in the face. Like, honestly. Just walk up with your trans girl, be like, hey, I don't like you. Fuck you. That was my foot, by the way. That was a front kick, right? That's training. Yeah. Like, I don't like that last one. And these are very weird, arbitrary things to prioritize. But I guess fact of the matter is, if you're a straight dude, if you can get past the dick, which that in itself doesn't make you gay. People don't seem to understand how sexuality works. It's like, if that makes you gay, right? Sleeping with a trans female who has a wee-wee, right? That would mean that you're straight by sleeping with somebody who looks like a very masculine male but has a vagina. That would mean that you're straight if you're attracted to that. But you're gay because you're attracted to somebody who looks like a female but they have a penis, because you're quantifying the gayness surrounding the wee-wee and the stuff down there. No, it's your physical looks. If you saw somebody and they looked like a woman, and you were a straight man and you're attracted to femininity and to people who look like women, that would mean that you're straight. But the other way around, it doesn't really make much sense. Apparently it has nothing to do with sex. I used to think that. I used to think that I was bisexual for being attracted to trans women. But then I realized, oh, it's because they look like women. Their wiener has nothing to do with it. The actual act of sex has nothing to do with it, which is, yeah, it's kind of crazy. Because if it did, like I said, you could see a man, and if you're a straight male and you're attracted to them, but then they pull down their pants, they're actually a biological female, they have a vagina, that would mean that you're straight if you're attracted to them, even though they look like a man. How's that work? If what I'm saying is wrong, that would be true, which it's not, because that doesn't make any fucking sense. But, okay, yeah. I've seen this guy's videos on my channel before. Go subscribe to him, he's kind of funny. I don't like the last one. Don't just be violent with people just because you want to. It's like, that's disgusting. Come on. Treat it with respect. And learn about it, so that when you encounter people who do think violence is an accessible thing to just impose upon others, you'll know how to defend yourself, and you'll know how to walk away from that unscathed. So, cool. Yeah, trans women are pretty cool. But they are. Okay, one last thing. Be careful, like I said. I'm guessing from the trials and tribulations that a lot of trans people go through in their lifetime to come to terms with their disposition in life. It's a lot of crap, one way or the other, that you're going to have to deal with. A lot of emotional volatility. My experience with the trans, now granted it's a biological woman, so I don't know if I could really say that. But even still, I've had experiences with men who've transitioned to women. And they were just as, like, huge victims, huge victim complexes, huge, like incredibly volatile emotionally speaking. Like, they can be really shitty, just like anybody else. And in terms of their aptness towards being shitty, it really just depends on their priorities. And a lot of them, when it comes to like any insult towards their sexuality or their identity, which to a lot of people that means the fucking world, they are going to respond with hostility, with anger. That woman I was talking about, who is a biological woman, who wants to be seen as a both, right, a they, which I don't respect this person. I think they're dumbass. They have no sense of accountability. They're delusional. They make bad decisions. They demand respect for the bad decisions. That person went to the extent of trying to affect my livelihood through legal means by victimizing themselves in front of other people, right? I'm not going to get into specifics. In court, right? They tried to propose themselves as a victim and how I'm super scary and how they're somehow scared of me, even though they're not. I'm scared of them because of what I know that they can do and how they're just emotionally inept and stupid. All it took was some insults and some criticisms and a bit of trolling for me to pull out the real side of them, the real shitfuck, grunge, unstable garbage person that they've concealed underneath the guise of decency, under their virtue, right? Which they don't really have much. So, just in general with people, now that's not specific to this person. Like, that's a biological woman. With biological men, you get the same thing. It really just depends on who you're screwing with, how mentally unstable they are, a bunch of factors. This applies universally. So just be careful. That's my advice. You can feel free to not listen to it, but just don't run headfirst into this crap and then not expect it. Because people, just in general, are fucking animals. We're just apes. Humans are apes. So, yeah, to leave you with that, fuck that person who did those things. A little bit of my personal side. You'll get a video eventually as to what happened in context to that in more detail. But for now, we'll just have to wonder. So until then,